choose to resist something that cannot change, your suffering continues, and that becomes our stress. When you only focus on the symptom and not the root cause. The symptom requires medicine. The root cause requires medicine and you making lifestyle changes. Almost everyone's healing, but no one's doing the actual work that needs to be done. Whoever said that I should find love for the first time and it has to last for a lifetime? No, it doesn't exist. If you got it, you're lucky. If not, you feel entitled, which is a very big difference. Everything that you do in life or you want to do will require your health. It's very, very difficult to achieve detachment. Like they say, be in a relation, but be detached. Technology can be used as a great enabler when you have the right purpose and the right mindset. And at the same time, it can destroy your life.
Yeah. And let me begin by asking you, the title of the book is very interesting, The Calm Prescription. You're almost suggesting that calm is like a biological necessity, no longer a luxury, because of how stressful and anxiety-ridden our lives have become.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. The reason we wrote this book is because we believe that calm has to be on every prescription with your medication. Whether you're on a diabetic medication, high blood pressure, chemotherapy. Today, most of the doctors that we work with, cardiologists, oncologists, they just say we're seeing more and more stress causing diseases. So if a medicine is required for you to get better, what about a state of calm? Because when we're anxious and stressed, we eat the wrong foods. We choose not to work out or we work out too much. We can't sleep at night. And these are all things that destroy our immune system and our metabolic health. So we figured there are enough of books on nutrition and exercise, and maybe it's about time that people understand the importance of de-stressing in life.
Yes, and I think you made a very interesting point that a lot of diseases are stress-induced. And not just diseases, from something as basic as hair fall to something as complex and sort of medically complex as well as chemotherapy. To reduce stress is actually not just complementary, but actually a prerequisite to achieving optimal treatment in any arena of medicine. Some diseases, some common diseases that are actually stress-induced, and how does the calm prescription actually sort of battle that?
So 100% of all the diseases, about 5 or 6% are very strongly genetically caused. You can be the fittest person, but you have the bad gene, it can become a condition. But the balance 95% are called and categorized medically as lifestyle diseases. What does this mean? It's caused by your lifestyle. We understand that for anyone to be sick, there is a breakdown of the immune system. Something that destroys the immune system is chronic stress. The wrong foods, exercise, all of that is important. Every disease. Today we know the impact of stress on your blood sugar levels. So if you're diabetic and you're stressed, you'll find that your blood sugar levels will be higher. Blood pressure is directly connected with your stress levels. Your stress levels increase, your blood pressure increases. Weight gain can also happen even if you're eating well and you're exercising. But if you're chronically stressed, especially in women, estrogen levels can rise and losing that abdominal fat can become very difficult. Very frustrating. For men, it's the same thing because testosterone will drop. So these are all caused by the direct impact of stress. When you look at PCOS, PCOD, infertility in our country is now on the rise. Young women cannot get pregnant easily. They need IVFs. It's not always their fault. Sometimes you've got to check your man's health as well. In 95% of the cases, it is stress. Then we have depression. Everyone says it's an imbalance. It is. But a trigger point is deep stress and anxiety, and sometimes very, very clinical in nature. So when you look around today, I have a question for you. When you're happy, how do you feel? Amazing. Your body, posture, everything changes. When you're angry, when you're sad, it's the absolute opposite. These two states of being calm and being angry or stressed out determines how trillions of cells in the body work together. So a lot of people are told when they have a disease, just relax, calm down. Your doctors tell you this. Why? Because even they know that the best medication cannot work effectively if within you, you're constantly stressed and you're constantly emotional. So that's why you have to integrate the best of medicine with being calm and nutrition and exercise and sleep.
I think that's a very important point to make. Talk to us a little bit about how do we achieve that sense of calm and how do we de-stress in given the lives we lead. In fact, you mentioned that in your book as well, that it's very hard to slow down. Things aren't slowing down. Given that we live in the age of social media and sort of absolutely crazy cycles, the hustle culture, things aren't slowing down. So how do we achieve that equilibrium with the pace at which our lives are moving and the pace that we aspire to sort of achieve through the calm prescription?
So it's not about slowing down always, because I also know a lot of people who are a little too slow, but they're still always anxious. So it's not always about slowing down. It's your relationship with stress, a problem, or a person.
So slow is not equal to calm.
Calm, not necessary. A lot of people can appear very calm on the outside. Then you have a category of people who are people pleasers. They're constantly happy. They want to make everyone happy, but deep within, they have resentment, they have anger, they have guilt. So it's not always the outside. And you'll find some people, they get angry, short-tempered very quickly, but in 5 seconds, they're back to normal. But they've probably hurt a lot of people along the way. But the point is, they're okay. They vented it out. Then you have a category of people who do not express their emotions. They're constantly keeping it in until it bottles up. And today we know there's a direct correlation between suppressed emotions and diseases. How? Suppressed emotions increase cortisol. Cortisol elevated keeps your immune system weak. Weak immune system, you can have any possible condition, virus, mutation of genes, cells, etc. So the whole idea is when we're looking at calm, are we saying you need to be calm all the time? Absolutely not. We're all human, we will get emotional, we will get angry, sad, but the point is, how long? For how long? If we're angry, how quickly can we come back to calm? How quickly can we reduce? So if you've had a stressful meeting, that's part of life. But after the meeting, what do you do? What do you do? Do you calm down for 5 minutes? You've had a stressful day. You get a good night of sleep. It's a perfect balance. So you see the mechanisms to calm down are in all of us. But I think the misunderstanding of the word stress, first of all, stress is not a negative word. There is no negativity in stress. Everyone's stress can be positive or negative. Yep. Positive stress motivates us to build companies, to work harder, the motivation to look after your family. Negative stress is your perception towards it. So we all have to understand that how we perceive stress is our biggest suffering. Most people's stress is the resistance to a person, a thing, or an event. Think right now of anything that's stressing you out in life. Anything or anyone. The actual stress is your resistance to that person, that thing, or event. So it really starts off with a perception. Life will be fast. AQI is not going to change for a long time. How many of us choose to accept this? Your suffering ends. You choose to resist something that cannot change, your suffering continues, and that becomes our stress.
One point that you made earlier about small activities, how it's about consistency and not so much about intensity, about how there are small, often boring, monotonous activities that you integrate in your routine. And that really helps you in building calm. And I think that's something, it's a constant thread in your books, even when in small wins. You talk about the smaller activities, you talk about the sort of day-to-day, consistent kind of building up of a certain aspirational state, and that really stays with you in the long run and not some dramatic wellness routine. Yeah. That's not going to take you anywhere. So talk to us a little bit about that, about those small activities and consistency over intensity.
So basically, I have two categories of patients. We have patients who get the most expensive treatments from across the world, and we have patients who can't afford those treatments. They get the basic government hospital treatment. Most of the patients getting the basic treatment have better recoveries. Why? There's a big difference in this. The category that gets the most fanciest treatment is not consistent with the things that they should be doing. The ones who get the basic medication that can treat the same symptom are very consistent with how they eat, improving their sleep. So it's always consistency over intensity and complication. The reason we wrote small wins, because if I ask all of you right now to do 50 push-ups, maybe some of you will do it. Some of you will be, it's impossible, I can't do it.
You immediately resist it.
You resist it in your mind. It's actually neuroscience. Okay, so I call you up on stage and you try to do it. Some of you do 2, some of you do 5, some of you do 10. But you don't achieve 50. You don't like that feeling that you couldn't meet the target. So now your brain, all of you know what dopamine is, right? It's a reward molecule. It tries to protect you from that feeling of failure. So you may not try. You just say, hey, push-ups is not for me. It's not good for me. My shoulders are weak. You'll find excuses so that you don't have to do it again. But what if I ask all of you all to do 1 push-up? After 3 days, you do 2. After 5 days, you do 3. Each and every one of you will reach 50. Of course, if you don't have a prior condition. You all will reach 50. Some of you in 1 month, some of you in 20 days, some of you in 3 months. But the point is you will reach it because you've broken down the goal. When you do 2, dopamine, you feel, wow, I did 2. Now you did 3, now you did 5. So you see, it constantly works on small wins. It constantly works. So even when we look at our most deadliest case, which could be a 4th stage cancer case, we break down the patient's goals into the smallest things. They don't have energy to get out of bed. So we ask them to walk for 2 minutes. On day 2, they're walking for 3 minutes. Now people will say, what's the point of 3 minutes of a walk? 3 minutes is better than nothing, right? Something is always better than nothing. But the point is our mind always wants to achieve what everyone else is achieving. So we give up. So the whole concept of small win is, I have 2 categories of patients. Some of them meditate for 1 hour, and the others meditate for 10 minutes. The ones who meditate for 1 hour are not consistent. They'll do it maybe once in 2 weeks.
Because it seems like an unachievable task, almost to do it every
Absolutely,
day.
and they'll say, wow, I did 1 hour of meditation. The group of people who do 5 minutes of meditation but daily, who do you think has better results? 5 minutes, because of consistency. And eventually that 5 minutes becomes so easy that they do 10 or 15 minutes. Now let's be honest, how many of you have the luxury of time to do 1 hour of meditation every day? If yes, excellent, but none of us do. But that doesn't mean 10 minutes or 5 minutes is not good enough. But consistency and small wins is the answer.
So you would still suggest integrating that practice in your routine, no matter how intense that is, and you get started off. But talk to us a little bit about those stories, because you have really been able to achieve tangible results because of what you call integrative medicine. And this is almost sort of a part of I would say the part of medicine, and not so much just the health and wellness space, but part of medicine, because you've been able to achieve some real fascinating results. You talk about stage 4 cancer, and there was this fascinating story of how, along with conventional treatment, conventional medicine, you were able to achieve remission for a stage 4 cancer patient. Talk to us a little bit about that and some such fascinating stories.
So it's actually quite simple because our minds are already filled with fear. 4th stage cancer means it's a death sentence. Yes, for many patients. But as we speak, there are millions of patients around the world who haven't died with 4th stage. But your mind is only filled with the negative news. The news never shows you possibility. Now, there's no rocket science in remission when it comes to this. We have to understand that medicine treats the symptom. So if you have a pimple on your face, you take a medicine. The pimple goes. That's a symptom. It comes back again, you take a medicine. In integrative medicine, you take the medicine. But why have you got the pimple? Why do you keep getting the pimple? Is it dehydration? Is it sleep deprivation? Is it your hormone imbalance? Is it a lack of vitamin D3 and B12? Now that we have the root cause and we fix it, you don't get the pimple, you don't continue with the medication. So you see, integrative medicine is not about allopathy versus Ayurveda versus homeopathy. That is the biggest downfall in our country. People fight and the patients suffer.
Yep.
The idea is you have to take the best of everything. So even while this 4th stage cancer patient of ours went through chemotherapy and radiation, our only job was to figure out how do we keep the immune system strong? How do we keep his gut healthy? How do we improve absorption of nutrients? How do you keep inflammation low? That's it. That's all we did. And as you know, the human body has its own power to heal. Everyone knows that. But the point is, when you only focus on the symptom and not the root cause, the symptom requires medicine. The root cause requires medicine and you making lifestyle changes, changing the way you eat, changing the way you move, your sleep, your stress levels. So it's always going to be an integrated approach if people really want to move from treatment to recovery.
I think that's a very interesting point to make, and we'll come to the whole idea of integration or convergence, as it were. But we spoke of things like heart attack, cancer, PCOD, but even relatively quote unquote minor things like, say, recovering from a breakup, or building everyday resilience. Something as simple as recovering from a pimple, or skin issues or hair fall. This kind of approach fixes everything, about fix every sort of pitfall in your life. So talk to us a little bit about that, because healing. Healing is such a buzzword these days. Everybody is healing from something or the other. It could be a layoff or a breakup. But this kind of an approach really fixes the root cause, like you said. So talk to us a little bit about this idea of healing and how you approach it.
It's actually a great question, because today almost everyone's healing, but no one's doing the actual work that needs to be done. It all sounds great. I'm healing, I'm spiritually
healing era, as it were. Yeah.
But healing requires you to do the work. And more than that, it requires you to have the courage to want to take certain decisions and make choices. So for example, you spoke about a breakup. Why are breakups difficult? Why are breakups? Because it hurts our ego, our pride, and if you were really in love, that's a difficult emotion to manage. But mainly, it's hurt our safety of how we may be loved in the future.
Yep.
Because someone did it to us once, it can happen again. So you see, the mind comes in. Now that's where the healing has to happen. We have to understand that everyone isn't the same, every relationship isn't the same, every marriage isn't the same. And what happened to you in one phase of your life doesn't mean it has to happen again. But the mind will make that same story play in your mind over and over again. So we're actually overthinking stuff that's not healing us. It's making healing more difficult. But when we accept, I'm human, whoever said that I should find love for the first time and it has to last for a lifetime? No, it doesn't exist. If you got it, you're lucky. If not, you feel entitled, which is a very big difference. So you see, when we're talking about healing, we have to first ask ourselves, like a lot of patients come in and say, hey, Luke, I want to recover from my cancer, I want to lose 50 kilos, but I don't want to stop eating samosas, I don't want to stop vaping, I don't want to stop drinking. And my point is, what choices are you willing to make if you want to move from point A to point B? It's not a negotiation. It's not a debate. You may have to make some tough choices. That's a part of healing. You may not get it right. Maybe from 5 drinks a week, you'll come down to 3 drinks a week. You're still healing. But if you're not making a change in what is causing your sickness or your pain in your relationship, there's no way you're ever healing. You're just surviving, and you're surviving in a space of fear. Fear, cortisol reduces your calm, and there you have every root cause of every possible disease. So I know sometimes heartaches will be difficult, no one likes it, but choose your healing very, very carefully. Sometimes therapy can keep you locked up and, you're just going on in loops. So look, what am I getting from the therapist? Am I moving? Every change that you're trying to do in your healing process should first be changing your mindset and perception. Then comes everything else. So if you want to go to the gym every day, but you've not changed your perception in your mind as to why, well, why should I go? You're always going to be waiting for someone to motivate you to go to the gym, etc., etc. So I think the why is extremely important, and healing requires you. In fact, everyone who's in the healing process, I'll ask them, what is that one tough decision that you've been avoiding? And that could be the only point that you would ever have to change to start your process of actual healing.
How do you give incentive to people to actually look at this aspect of life, to look at building calm before there's an injury? Yeah. What is the incentive, to make that lifestyle change, to integrate these practices of building calm before there's an injury?
So see, everyone has a different value proposition in life. For some people, it's their work. Some people, it's their business. Some people, it's their children. Some people, it's their partner. So everyone has a value proposition. I'm not here to judge that. Okay, but if you can give your health and your happiness the same value proposition as you give everything else, it automatically falls into the equation. But the point is, because we don't value our health or we don't value our happiness, We're constantly working on every one around us, and after a while, we get sick, or we realize that I have everything, but I'm empty. I'm not happy. So the whole point is the incentive for us, for our health is basically a value proposition. Name me anything that you love doing in your life. It requires your health. You say you love your children, okay? If you love your children, you should be looking after your health because you want to spend more time with them. You don't want to become a liability to them. You don't want to stress them out by being sick around them. Of course, these things are not controllable, but we can take certain actions. Everything that you do in life or you want to do will require your health, period. It's non-debatable. Every single thing that you do, whatever it is. Some of you are working hard because you say, I want to make a lot of money and retire. I have a lot of those people who have now retired with a lot of money, but most of their time are in and out of hospitals.
Yep.
Not the best retirement plan, right? So the point is value proposition. How much do you really need to give yourself in terms of time for your health? 20 to 30 minutes of movement every day, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 3 meals if you eat, 15, 20 minutes each, at least 2 meals out of 3 can be good. It's that simple. But because you're watching so much of Instagram, you think that you have to do so much for your health. That's stressful. You lost your calm right there.
Yeah.
And now you're like, should I have A2 milk, should I have A1 milk? My point is, have you worked out? Doesn't matter what milk you're having. Oh, should I have this oil, that oil, whatever. But you're eating deep fried food out on the road 3 times a week. Doesn't matter. The question is irrelevant. So the point is we need to calm down and understand, what do I need for my health? You don't need a 1-hour gym workout unless that's your goal. Most people can get through with simplicity. Most people don't even need 8 hours of sleep. If you sleep deeply, people can get away with 6 hours of sleep automatically. Sleep, wake up fresh, ready to start the day because you're sleeping deeply. Some people sleep 9 hours and still wake up tired. So it's not the quantity of sleep, it's the quality of sleep that matters. So I think the incentive is always going to be you, again, mindset. What is important to me in life? And am I doing everything I need for my health to align with that? That simple incentive change allows us then to start taking small steps towards our health and our calm.
Absolutely. And how do you go about detaching yourself from something that can derail your journey towards calm before you start integrating positive practices? So of course it's a sort of a parallel journey, but detaching yourself from unhealthy practices often is the most difficult part.
So detachment is a very deep word. It's very, very difficult to achieve detachment. Like they say, be in a relation but be detached. What does that mean? That means love can come, love can go. I mean, how many of us are really that evolved to be okay with that? It's difficult. It takes years of spirituality to reach that. Let's look at detachment in a different way. Most people are attached because they want to be in control. Most people's anxiety comes from 2 reasons. You either see someone as a threat or you want to be in control of that person. When you start losing control of a person, a thing, an event, a deadline, you start to get anxious. So it's not like we have to detach from these things. We got to figure out, why are we always trying to be in control? Because no one is in control of anything. I can guarantee you that right now. The richest person is not in control of anything when they lose their health. Yeah, you can fly to the US private, you can get the best 7-star hospital, but you're still not in control of the outcome. So we have to understand that right now, most people's stress is because I want to be in control of my grades, which university I get into. I want to be in control of my partner, what he's saying, what she's saying, how they should be, how this person should look, why she said that. Most of our stress comes from that, and we don't have to be looking at detachment over here. We're looking at control. Most people are trying to be in control. So when it comes to bad habits, there's no detachment with junk because you're addicted. There's a big difference between addiction and attachment. Junk, you're addicted. Netflix, OTT, you're addicted. That's why you can't detach from it. You can't detach from addiction. You can only mellow down addiction by stop feeding it with the addiction. So you want to cut down on sugar? The best way is to stop it for a while. You want to cut down on junk? You stop the addiction by not eating junk anymore or reducing it. You want to reduce your Netflix or OTT binging? The only way you can stop it is by stopping it. But you can't detach from it because detachment will leave you with emotions that, oh, but I deserve this. I worked hard. I should get this. It brings in a state of entitlement.
Or perhaps
So,
building other, sort of alternate sources of dopamine as well?
absolutely. So the other way that you can do is build new sources of dopamine. If you're getting dopamine from junk and entertainment, the first question, again in your mind, is that adding value to your life? Yes or no? Number two, how can I replace it? So I know a lot of people who got off junk, ultra-processed sugar by just starting to play a game, a sport, or starting to work out,
Yep.
and they just never went back to the addiction because you're getting dopamine from exercise, which is replacing the dopamine that you stopped getting from your junk. And a lot of people move from OTT platforms to reading books or actually going out, meeting their friends face to face. So you got to create, if you're cutting out something that's decreasing your dopamine, you got to create something else that increases it. But don't upgrade. Don't move from Netflix to alcohol to cocaine, etc., etc. That's the wrong movement path for dopamine.
Yeah, but
basically.
that seems to be becoming the
That's what's
norm
happening
rather
right
than
now,
the
yeah.
exception. But you also spoke of something interesting about how it's virtually impossible to detach yourselves from stuff like Netflix or social
Yeah.
media, for example, because it's omnipresent, as it were. And that's something you talk about in your book as well. In fact, you have a very interesting take on social media and technology, on how that can actually be integrated in sort of facilitating these healthy practices that build calm. So talk to us a little bit about that.
No, so I don't think social media is the problem. I think it's the person behind social media. It's always, you can't blame alcohol. There's nothing wrong with alcohol. It's the person behind the bottle, right? Their behavior, their consumption. So when we look at social media, there are many people who use social media as an enabler in their life. You can learn a lot from social media by following the right people. You can use social media to build your brand, to build your business.
To earn money. Yeah.
To earn money. It's huge, it's great, it's a fantastic time to be in. The problem is when we're doom scrolling. We have no purpose, we have no intention, but you're constantly looking at entertainment and reels and stuff like that. You're burning out dopamine, so at the end you kill 2 to 3 hours, no change in your life, no value add in your life. You're not happier. I can understand if it gave you happiness, I would say please do it because happiness is also important. But no one gets off 2, 3 hours of social media feeling happy. They get off feeling tired. They get off feeling less adequate because they saw all their friends on fancy holidays, new clothes, new shoes, and now you feel, oh, I have lesser than everyone else. So I think technology can be used as a great enabler when you have the right purpose and the right mindset. And at the same time,